Hello and welcome to the Voxx Show, where we discuss tomorrow's news today with the world's most accurate psychic, and here she is now, Voxx.
Hey Lori, how you doing?
Hey, great.
Well, so what shall we talk about next?
Well, there is a public figure, a TV anchor person who has been making quite a name for himself lately. He's been the subject of a variety of petitions, and his name is Piers Morgan. So what can the cards tell us about Piers?
Well, first off, let's start with his chart.
Okay.
It's again unknown what his exact time of birth is, but that's never stopped me yet. We may recognize by his kind of holier-than-thou persona that he is an Aries.
Okay.
And if I've pissed off any Aries, just keep it to yourself. He's got Moon in Pisces. He thinks that he's this really noble poet gentleman, but according to the stories I've been hearing and reading lately, it's far from the case. Now, what I thought was interesting, Lori, was that we were just earlier in our last show talking about the Illuminati.
Yes.
And we discovered that the Illuminati astrological chart had Venus in Aries.
Right.
And I think it's pretty damn weird that out of the clear blue sky we decided to pick Piers Morgan. And he also has Venus in Aries. Very bizarre.
It's a coinky-dink.
Exactly.
Or eerie similarities.
Exactly. And he's got Mars in Virgo. That shows his ascendancy towards the media and the published word. Jupiter in Taurus. He's been very successful so far financially. Saturn in Pisces. It feels like a lot of the things that he says and does are a very passive-aggressive attack towards people he perceives have hurt him in some way. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And right now, some of the Virgo planets are really making it difficult for his Saturn and Pisces placement. Uranus and Virgo, he looks like he also ascended pretty rapidly in the publishing field. If there's something that I know factually from reading it, I will just tell you. I'm not going to pretend to be psychic here. This is all true astrological psychic information that I'm giving out. Pluto in Virgo, he can rise and fall by the same methods. So he really needs to watch out right about now. He's got a lot of planets in Pisces. He may look like a tough guy, but he's really a wuss. So he attacks people before they can attack him. That seems to be his modus operandi.
Yeah, well, he doesn't allow them a chance to fight back.
Oh, see, now I wouldn't know that because I never even bothered to watch this guy. You know, seriously. Now, here's where it all goes awry.
Okay.
Whereas some people say Ari, whatever.
Okay.
He's got Neptune at 19 degrees retrograde Scorpio. Technically, you would say Neptune retrograde at 19 degrees Scorpio. He's got his Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, in the cursed degree of 19 degrees Scorpio. It's the worst degree you can possibly have. I have actually turned down love partners after finding out that they had 19 degrees Scorpio anywhere in their chart. Famous people with 19 degrees Scorpio in their chart. Let me see. Charles Manson.
Ew.
Yeah, we all know how that turned out. So those are just a couple of nasty little things. Yes, and if you do have 19 degrees Scorpio, I'm really sorry. There's nothing you can do about it because it's also a degree that does not process, so you're screwed. If you have it, you're screwed.
Well, he's only like a month older than me, so...
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Hopefully I'm not at 19 degrees Scorpio.
Most likely you are not. Neptune moves a little bit slow. You could have it at 18, but we'll check that out.
Okay.
But let's keep our mind set on Mr. Piers Morgan, and let's jump into the deep end.
Piers. It's Piers.
Because he's so piercing. As I wanted to call the show, Lori, let's take a long...
Piers the Veil.
And let's take a long piers off a short pier, long walk off a short piers, or however they say it.
Maybe Piers will be taking a long walk eventually. So how did he get his job at CNN?
That's a really good question.
Replacing Larry King, who was so beloved.
Let's check him out. Well, first off, Larry was about to keel over anyway. He had major contacts there. This is all psychic. He's got the Lover's card. So he had the background for it. He had already been a pretty much trusted name. He already made some kind of name for himself. So he seemed to be a relatively okay choice. It seems like the choice to pick this guy happened in a very sudden, kind of bizarre kind of manner. But he jumped at it, and it makes me feel that something was offered to sweeten this deal. I don't pretend to know what that is, but it was not a logical conclusion for CNN to pick this guy. He looks like the psychic energy of it. He really forced his way into that position.
Okay.
Had a lot of opportunity to do so, and people finally just like, it's like one of those bad It's All About Eve movies where the understudy just so happens to have memorized the lines, just so happens to be there and goes on stage and brings the house down or whatever.
Well, he was one of the judges on the X Factor. So
Okay.
America did know him from the X Factor, where he kind of had the Simon Cowell role on that show.
Well, he took a very slim opportunity and he really worked it into a major one. And he does have some skill on some regard. However, it just keeps showing that he has this holier-than-thou attitude, and he does not really make very good friends. He seems to upset people, even with the most banal remark. He just seems to really rub people the wrong way. Even when he's trying to be nice, he still pisses people off. I don't understand it.
Apparently he got into some trouble in his native country with hoaxing photographs, and he's somewhat complicit in the whole phone hacking scandal.
All right, well, and I think he comes from England, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let's check it out. What would be the question you would think most people would want to know about, let's say, the photograph manipulation?
Did he do that?
Is Piers Morgan guilty of manipulating photographic evidence to suit his purposes? And I have to say, somebody offered it to him. He's got the Knight of Cups. And I have to say, he had the opportunity. And apparently, based on what I was also saying, he seems to know exactly how to get people to pay attention to him in a very strong manner. He doesn't seem to care about publicity. He seems to think, like poor old Oscar Wilde, may he rest in peace. I'm going to disagree. I do believe that there is such a thing as bad publicity. And this guy seems to have just taken Oscar Wilde to heart and just taken the ball and run with it, literally. So I have to say with that card, he thought he was doing somebody a favor. And I will say that it does seem to be an American that gave him access to those photographs.
So it seemed like a good idea at the time.
It seemed like a great idea at the time, and he really wanted to be seen as a person who does not play favorites and will show the whole dirty, rotten underbelly of a situation. But I think he seriously miscalculated. And that's blown up in his face. But the answer to your question is he responsible? Did he really do that? And I have to say, yes, he did. And by the way, that's another Charles Manson card. 4 of Cups, Moon in Cancer. It's a card that is guilty by association. It's like if you see the child with chocolate smeared all over his mouth, an empty cookie jar, you can safely assume that the child got into the cookie jar, although there's no concrete proof of it. So I'm going to have to say, yes, he's guilty, and his motives may have been something that he himself deludedly thought was noble, but is in fact not so noble at all.